we pretty much have bought out almost the entire Colorado supply of farm fresh beeswax. It takes 300 pounds of honey to make 1 pound of wax, so this is like some really good dosage of beeswax.
Blows my mind. Like, this is so cool.
It's so fun.
Yeah, it is. It is so great.
Yeah.
And I'm just reading through this, and
Yeah.
this is great. Wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So.
And it's super Colorado-y. I mean, there's like
Yes.
Colorado
Yeah.
herbs and some of it.
This is great because you see it in action. You see the raw product, and you see the process, and you see.
Yeah.
I mean, just
It's pretty
everything.
wild.
Yeah, very,
See what
very
the
wild.
entry level, when you walk in, it's just like blocks, and then when you
Right.
have like a finished
With
product
all
in your
that.
hand on the other side of the building, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, buying local, shopping local, banking local. So it's really cool because when you build a relationship with people, I mean, gosh, Nathan and I have had the same insurance company for 18 plus years. I still am with the same phone service. I have the same phone number I've had for the last 18 years. And it's just good to build deep relationships, you know, so to have our bankers coming in to see our shop because they've been there from the beginning of our growth, and one of them was with me actually when I was at another bank, because all of you know I came from corporate banking and worked for the largest bank in the world. It may not be still the largest bank, at one time it was, but anyway, he was the manager there, and he was actually the one, as I said before, that opened our very first Her Effect bank account. So for them to be like, they're on the numbers side, they're seeing our accounts, they're seeing all the business stuff, but to be able to walk into our little cottage and see, you know, all of our tanks and the raw beeswax or the farm fresh beeswax, stacks and stacks of beeswax, and on one side of our facility, and then on the other side you've got this finished product that we made, you know, that nothing we have has been, we don't get any finished product in, we make everything from scratch. So it's just kind of fun to blow their minds and let them see the inside of all of the, especially on Fridays, I love to go and just take some time for myself. If I have time, I try to make time for that, but one of my favorite things to do is just go to pretty little stores and walk around and like smell the smells and like enjoy all the feels, and like Anthropology or my little antique shop, and I'll go have a bowl of soup at my favorite local French cafe, and Pottery Barn. There's some really, really cute shops up here, and then my favorite antique store it smells good. You feel like you're walking through a little wooden cottage, and it's just like, sometimes I'll do that for like an hour or two, because lately we have so much happening with this pre-launch. So we're like T-minus 2 months right now, getting ready to launch our whole multi-level marketing business model, which is so exciting. I have so much to tell you guys about that. My first calls are happening at like 6 a.m. and I'm working till like 10, 11 p.m. and then I'm speaking too, so I'm literally working on slides, and I'm working with like hiring team members and expanding systems, and you know, working on future stuff, and working like 6, sometimes 7 days a week. So anyways, it's not like, I don't like to live my life like that constantly, but sometimes you hit seasons where you just have to get the job done, and that's kind of where we are right now. If you think that building the dream and going after the vision is this like really pretty life balance, it just doesn't happen, you know. And I operate from a place of peace, but my life is like, there's days sometimes where I have to grab like 10-15 minutes, just sit with the boys, tell them a story, sing them a song, like have a little conversation, and that's like the interaction. And I was just talking to Nathan about it, because I'm like, man, do you think we should push this deadline out, because I'm working so hard? And we always come back to this thing of, it's just the price we have to pay right now. It's not permanent, and it's for the greater good, and ultimately the boys are going to be okay. They're in good hands, and they get to see me in the morning, and I try to at least, you know, 5 days a week make sure that we all sit down for dinner together, But we're just in a crazy building season, and it's just the way it is, you know? And try to bring the boys into it as much as I can. So they're gonna come on some trips with me this year and do meetings with me and all the things. So so let's go to anthropology. I always had a hard time finding jeans that fit me right. You know, I've got longer legs and got thicker thighs and booty, and my waist is pretty okay, you know. Anyways, Paige has always been my favorite brand of jean, and I remember being at TJ Maxx, and I'd always find these amazing jeans, but they were like $50 at TJ Maxx price, which is amazing for Paige. I couldn't justify spending that, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, like I have Paige jeans now. I mean, it's just having these flashbacks of wow, like how far the work that we've done has taken us. It's just so interesting. No, thank you. Okay. Have a good day. Thank you. About the stuff, it's never about the jeans or, you know, the vacation or the travel. It's about having choices. And I just remember when it was like I had to wear the ugly jeans because I didn't have a choice, you know. And that's what I want to give back to all of you guys. I want you to have choices. What is it that you want in life? Is it a nice pair of $200 jeans, which sounds crazy, or is it, you know, just being able to take your family on a vacation? Is it being able to have an unlimited grocery budget? It doesn't matter what it is. Having the choice and being able to make that choice is really what it comes down to. And I can't wait to see all of you have that same choice. Oh my goodness. Look at this amazing scale, guys. You know, we use scales in the shop to make all of our soaps and stuff. This is going in my office. Go in with our shopping, and then we get into the old minivan. You know, like it's like a screeching halt, like we're not. Oh wait, do you have the keys? They have the best soup here. Oh my goodness, French onion, the cheese plate, so good. Grammar of Natural and Experimental Philosophy. 1822. I should get this for Nathan because he loves philosophy. I used to want to be like an archaeologist for a small window of time in my life, but I'm always fascinated by the story and, you know, what was going on in that time period. Who used this stuff? What was their life like? What kind of clothing, what dresses were they wearing? What balls were they going to, you know? All the stories these antiques tell. And it just feels cozy to me too. I love walking into my home and there's just all these perfectly placed wooden crates and, you know, things that, I don't know, just carry so much substance than just buying new things. I don't know. And I think part of it too, even when I was little, it's funny, we lived in 3 different farms growing up. And back then, of course, on farms, way back in the early days, they didn't have trash service, so you'd go like a half mile out into the field and there would be a trash heap or something, and the farmers would just burn everything, and that's how you did trash way back in the day. And so my brother and I would go into these trash heaps as kids and find, like, I would find old antique irons and old antique things that you would spend a lot of money for nowadays in an antique shop. And but even then, as a little girl, I was fascinated by these old things. I mean, and since we would move on to these old farms that were owned by the farmers whose like dad had built the house, like from the 1800s, you know. As a matter of fact, the bed that I slept in all the way until I got married was an old farm bed that we found when I was a little girl on one of the farms we moved on to. But so it wasn't like this far off distant thing. It was like closely connected. It was so closely connected to the way that I did life. And so that when I went a couple of years ago, this old driveway that I used to run up and down on when I was a kid, it was a little gravel road, was all overgrown with grass. It was really hard to find, but I went and knocked on the door, and the people that like the old farmer that used to live there doesn't live there anymore. He actually died, but his wife, I was reaching out to his wife, and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry, Jamie. You know, a couple years ago, the local fire team decided to use it as a training, like a training operation, and so they burned the house down. And so I just got to go and see all the old rubble, and I took some bricks back home, so I have bricks from that house. But it was just the basement, like all the bricks and like the foundation. It was kind of weird, and it felt really empty, and just all the flashbacks and memories of being a kid. And then the other farm, we drove an hour outside of town because this farm was pretty far away, and I just remember like being like, I wonder if I'll be able to even find this place, because it's been what, 30 plus years. And sure enough, like driving down, it was on Camp Lake, which is a little tiny lake that we had, like, it was our lake for our farm, and then on the other side of the lake there was Strawberry Lake, and it was a couple miles down from our farm. And Strawberry Lake is where all the people would buy these like little homes on the lake, and they would go there in the summer and go fishing, and you could go ice fishing in the wintertime. And but it was really crazy. I have pictures of me standing in the old chicken coop, and my dad's handwriting was still on the chicken coop walls from when he would do his calculations, and we were like trying to figure out how many, we would buy like 300 baby chicks at a time, and he would be like writing on the walls and doing math and stuff like that, like how many chickens. And so my dad's handwriting was still there, and the barn was still there. So the chicken coop and the barn and the house was still there, and I almost snuck in, but then I kind of felt bad. But it was this vacant old farmhouse that I grew up in that nobody lived in anymore. Nobody was there. And but all of the fence posts that my dad and I and my brother dug, and we dug holes for every summer for years, and put in these giant railroad ties so that we could build really strong fences for the horses. So those fence posts were still there. And then we had all these different, like, it was a real farm. I mean, we had cows and chickens and pheasants and geese and ducks and pigs and bunnies and turkeys. So many animals. Anyways, so like some of the fences that we had built for them were still there, and then off into the distance there was that little trash heap. Like, you couldn't see the trash, but we had taken one of our old Beetlebug cars, and it was still there. It was just so crazy. Like, you could see it half mile down into the old field, down into a valley, and there's like this little baby blue Beetlebug that we used to drive around, and then we just couldn't drive it anymore. So crazy. It's really good to go back to it was really good for me to go back and see those places and remember my roots.